Hi, welcome to the Sweet Life. This is Lee. I've just been asked to, well, not just, but I have been asked several times to show people some basic skills about baking and cooking, and I really just haven't had time to do it yet. But now I'm putting together some videos, some how-to videos, and I hope that you like them. This first one is a very basic one. I've just got a piece of hair just hanging. This first one is a very basic one, and it's about chopping. But I think if you're going to cook anything, you need to know some basic how-tos. For instance, you look at recipes and they're always going, please julienne, please fine chop, please do this, please do that. And sometimes it's a little bit daunting if you've never cooked before. And I think if I'm going to do a series of how to cook and bake, then it's important to start at the beginning. So that's what I'm doing. So I hope you like it. If you do, please just let me know and ping on that bell so you'll know when the next one's coming out, and subscribe and tell your friends. And I'm so excited. I think I've got about 57 subscribers at the moment, so hopefully I can get up to 60. That'd be great. Anyway, have a great time. Enjoy the video. So let's start with knives. Lots and lots of professionals tell you to use different sizes of knives for different chopping, paring knives and all that sort of thing. For me, and I guess this is because I've always just done this, I just found a knife that was suitable for me. And actually this is a James Martin knife, for no particular reason other than the handle fit me nice, it wasn't too heavy and I could control it. But you don't have to have one like this. You could have lots of other shaped knives. It's entirely up to you, whatever feels comfortable. The thing to do is make sure that your knife is very sharp. People get cut for a couple of reasons. One, they don't turn their fingers in. So, two, they don't concentrate on what they're doing. And thirdly, cuts aren't normally made with blunt knives, because if you're cutting and it's blunt, it's more likely to slide off. So try and make your knife sharp. So every time you use your knife, just run it through the sharpener. So you can see over here I've got a plate of vegetables all cleaned, well except for one, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. I've got a bowl to put all the leftover chopped bits, the ones you want to throw away or compost if you're lucky, and I've just got a plate here to put all the vegetables that I'm going to use. So let's start off with the onion. Okay, so there are various ways to cut an onion. Okay, this is just one of them. So I've cut the tip off, left the root, and I'm going to put it flat down onto the chopping board and push my knife down really hard. Okay, so that gives you 2 parts of the onion. That way you can easily, or should be easily, able to peel off the skin. So there's all this thing about you're going to cry and all, because the onion gives off all these chemicals. Well, if you're going to cry, you're going to cry. You can use goggles, whatever, but you just have to get used to it, really. Man up. What I'm going to show you is how to do a very fine chop. So you're going to put that down onto your board, flat side down, hand nice and flat, sharp blade. Can you see that it's sort of pointing not up to my hand, but because it's at the bottom of the onion, nice and straight. So you're going to cut it through until almost the roots, and then we're going to put another cut in just above that, again nice and flat hand. And I'm just completely distracted because one of my cats, Cincy, who has 3 legs, and I'll show you her later, she's decided to be a little pain. She's starting to scratch things, but anyway, I'll ignore her. So we've got 3 layers there, and then we're going to run your knife down and chop all the way through, not all the way to the roots, just leave that on, and that'll make it easier to chop. Right the way to the bottom. Okay. And then, once we've got all of these little bits, you're going to use your knife to very gently and very hard and soft at the same time, firmly I think the word, cut all the way down. Make sure your fingers are nicely turned in. I tend to use my nails and use that as a guideline. You know, all these fabulous chefs can cut really fast. I can't. I just cut nice and surely, so don't feel like speed is an essence. I'm not into waste, so I always take as much of that onion off as possible. And then you're left with a rooty bit. Okay, so I'm going to put that onto this plate, and then I'm going to show you how to do that again. Okay, so this is chopped in half. I'm going to take the skin off. So I'm just left with the onion and the rooty bit. Then I'm going to put my hand nice and flat, and then run my knife through almost to the root. Avoid your hand, and then turn it round, chop down till you've got nice little sections, and then chop them into little cubes. If you wanted it finer, you could cut the slices finer, but you can see it's quite fine. It's a nice dice, okay, so that's good. So that's an onion. You can slice onions as well, but we're just showing you some chopping. Let's talk about peppers. That sounds like we're going to talk about something interesting. Well, there's a few ways of cutting peppers. My favourite way is, because again I'm not into waste, is turning it upside down and cutting the pepper in half. So just running the knife down till it stops at the top bit there, and then I open it, and then I pull out all the little white bit here and the seeds. And when it comes to this, which has got the stalk, I just put my finger out and pull it out. And for me, that feels like the less waste. Okay. There's another way. This is the way the lovely Mr. G likes to do things. He cuts down like this. So he sort of cuts around it and then cuts that. So he's left with that. And then he'll take the white bits off there. All the seeds, compost in there. And then there's obviously the other way, which is nice, pretty, flowery slices like that. Okay, and then when you get to that bit, you have to cut around the middle. And then just pop that out. Take off the excess seeds. And then you're left with that. And again, you just cut that. Now this is what I mean about having a nice sharp knife. You shouldn't really have to put too much pressure when you're slicing, especially things like this and tomatoes. You know, it's an easy way to slice your fingers. Okay, so once you've got these, you can either use those like that. We're just going to leave those there because I think with all these vegetables, I'm going to have to make something fabulous. Or you can make it into a nice fine chop. So you can first of all, you can make it into very thin strips, which is called a julienne strip. So if you have a recipe that says julienne, it's not asking you to call anybody, it's just asking you to cut your strips nice and thin. Okay, so there's that. Or we can, I'm going to cut that in half, or we can do a thicker chop, which is like that, which is more of a baton, and then we can chop it into a nice big dice. Okay, or we can, I'm just going to take that little bit of white out there, or we can again make the batons smaller, not quite a julienne. I think they're called jardinières. Gosh, I hope, if they are, if they're not, I apologise. And that just makes it sort of into a medium dice. Okay. Can you see those? We've got a larger dice, a medium dice, and then let's make a smaller dice. So again, we're going to make very thin juliennes. Make sure you just, can you see I'm moving the knife back and forward? So I'm letting the knife do the work. I'm not really moving this. The vegetables don't need to move. Then once they're like that, cut that one a little bit thinner. Put them in line. And then we're going to have finer dice. Again, watch out for your fingers. You don't need to go quickly. Slow motion. Okay. Okay, so we've got a larger dice, a medium dice, and a finer dice. And you can even go finer than that if you wanted to. All right. just move these off. So as I'm cutting these, I'm thinking now, what can I make with all of these vegetables? Because I'm a bit of a nose to tail person. I'll chop these ones later. A nose to tail sort of cook. And I'm thinking, and it's not exactly the cold weather. It is actually August, coming up to the end of August, and but we've had so much rain and everything here, so it maybe just, I'll just have to think about something. I have washed these carrots, but I haven't peeled them because I think there's a lot of nutrients underneath the skin. So I'm just gonna, and I wanted to show you what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna cut the top off, a tiny bit of the bottom, and throw those away. And then what's gonna make it easier to cut your carrots, if you try and do that, you certainly can, if that's the sort of size of carrot you want. But really you don't need to. I mean, what sort of things call for that? So I'm gonna show you a couple of different ways to chop a carrot. So chop it into a nice manageable piece, chop it in half, watch your fingers. So you can chop it in half if it's a nice thick one, and again, just like the onion, chop slices, watching your fingers please. Okay, put that aside, I will use that in a second, but I just want to show you this. And then you've got lots of layers, and then pushing down on the carrot and controlling your knife, you can cut them into, cut them into strips, depending on the thickness of the strips. This depends on what you call them, batons, batonettes, jordanaise, julienne, oh, lots of them. Okay, so that's when they're all piled together, but if you're not feeling comfortable about doing that, just take each layer separately and chop them like this, okay? And as you practice more, it'll be a lot easier for you. Okay. Well, those ones are a little bit thick because that's the end, so we're just going to chop those a little bit more. Okay. Right. So then we've got this one. So we can chop it like that. You see how the tip of my knife is actually really not lifting up from the chopping board, and I'm sort of moving the knife back and forwards, but I'm not moving it that way very much. What I'm doing is lifting the knife up and pushing it down. So this area here is the cutting area that I'm using, and as I'm cutting slices off, I'm very slowly pushing the carrot into the knife. That's my method. You've got to watch your fingers. That's not everybody's method. Go online and all that, so you see lots and lots of different methods. That's just mine. But you can make those as thin or as thick as you like. There's another way is, again, knife nice and sturdy, cut it that way. So you get angled. They're really nice for stews. Or if you want to get a little bit of fancy, that way and that way. So you have little thicker ones, but slightly different. Can you see the sort of like wedges of carrot? I'm not even sure what they're called, but sometimes if I get bored, I'll just play around with them. I'm sure there's some fancy name and somebody will let me know. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 ways of cutting them, or even 5 ways. Okay, so we're going to use those. Put those on that plate. Actually, I'm going to show you one more way with the carrots. So, like I said, these have all been washed, so I'm just going to cut the ends off. Ratatouille! That's what I'm going to make. Okay, so I've cut it in half, be manageable again, and then I'm going to cut thicker strips. So I'm going to cut that maybe into, maybe have 3 cuts in that. Can you see the strips are a little bit thicker? And then we're going to put a chop on that. So let's start off with a thick chop. Okay, so that's quite a sturdy thick chop. Okay, let's start off with let's go to a thinner chop. And again, all that means is you just cut these slices thinner, finer. okay? Watch your fingers. And then because I want it finer chop, I'm going to turn them over and do that. And you can do the pieces individually. Don't think you don't have to. Move those out the way a second. And see, so you've got some nice little thin ones there. And then you can do a nice fine chop on those. Again, I'm keeping the knife sort of where it is. And I'm moving my carrots. I'm going to do some together and then separately. And then I'm moving my carrots, pushing them very gently towards the knife. So I'm controlling the knife and the carrots at the same time. Okay, so that's it when you have a few together. Let's just show you when you just have one or two. So let's do one. Can you see the chop? What your end result, if you practice and practice chopping, what you should have are consistent little pieces. Can you see those little pieces there? So they're more or less exactly the same size. Now, the reason you try and have all your chopped things the same size, for instance, if you're having these, try and get them a similar sort of thickness. And again, with the peppers, try and have them a similar sort of size, because you want them all to be able to cook at the same time. If you put those in to cook with those, obviously they're going to take longer to cook than those. So, you know, you'll be able to judge your meals. So let's just chop those up again. Right. Let's move those out the way. Now, here we go. And let's look at some leeks. Okay, so a leek. I love leeks. Sometimes better more than onions. Different onions for different things. Red onions are less have a, what, sharp? What's the word? Strong. Red onions tend to be less strong than white onions. Oh, brown onions as we have in this country. You don't see a lot of white onions around. But leeks also have a less distinctive flavour of onion. And it's more subtle. So I like to use leeks in a lot of recipes. And if you look at our my blogs and things like that, and also in this series, you'll see that I'm going to be doing some recipes. But sometimes they're a pain in the neck to chop. So I left this to last because this is a dirty one, and I have prepared one over here. What I do with my leeks is I use a sharp knife, and you've got to obviously try and take the top leaves off. They're a bit, not only are they dirty, but they're very, very tough. So I tend to just very carefully slice down and take off the top couple of layers of tough leaves. I mean, just tiny little cut with your knife. If you've got a sharp knife, it's not going to take very much. And then I will take off the tough bit. Okay. And then how I do it is I cut, I'm going to show you here because I've already prepared one and I want to use this bit on another one to show you a different chop. So I push my knife in and I just separate the two, and that will show you, give you half leek size. And then if you want it smaller, which I often do, and if I'm putting it in cooking, I often have it smaller, cut it into 4. Now, obviously, these leeks soak up a lot of dirt, and the dirt tends to get all the way down here. A lot of people will cut the leeks and then try and wash them. I think it's so much easier if you just do that and then wash them under cold water like that, because it just keeps it together longer. And I've got a couple here, which I shall show you. Like I said, this is one I did a little bit earlier, and here's a whole one I did a little bit earlier, so I'm going to show you the whole one first. Hello, come on. So you can see what's happened. I've cleaned it all up, I've thingied it. That's a piece of the other one. Okay. I've chopped it and I've washed it. So again, it's very easy to do, just like the rest of the chopping. Control your knife, control your vegetable. That sounds really weird. You know what I mean. Nice, firm, pushing down with a knife, moving it, and then moving the vegetable towards it. Moving the knife towards towards your fingers, keep your fingers in, move the vegetables towards it. Can you see the little chops there? How cool is that? I love a vegetable. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on doing that. So you can have nice thick ones, thin ones over there. And then we're going to do some thicker chops. Alright. And then you can even have thicker. You can go for whatever you like. Right. So I'll finish this off into a medium chop. And then discard the root or put it into your compost. So we've got thin, a little bit thicker, a little bit thicker, and a thicker one. And then, where did I put it? Here it is. So I'm going to cut that later, but I just wanted to show you this. So if you want them whole, it is exactly the same. Just don't cut down. It just means that you're going to have to get in there and wash the leeks a different way. And if I was making a stew, I would use them whole. If I was going to saute, I would use this, the thinner. And I tend not, leeks are really good if they're softened and as opposed to cooked. So you saute in and you're just going to cook them till they're translucent, so on a low heat. So that's the chopping for this section. I hope that helps. Yeah, I hope that helps, and I shall see you next time. Please subscribe and bing the bell and do everything. And if you want to show me your chopping and make food using all of these things, that'd be absolutely great. So see you next time with The Sweet Life. Bye. Yeah, I promised I was going to show you Cincy. This is Cincy. I've got two pussy cats. This is Cincy, and she had an accident, so she's only got 3 legs. But she's turned out like a dog. She's not happy that she's near the work surface because she's not allowed on anywhere like that. But I just thought I'd show you, and see you later. Bye.